Power is a universal language. And I know a renegade soldier when I see one. Never occurred to me that one might come from above.
Finally, I could do the Captain Marvel not trailer, excuse me, film review, front to back, spoilers on the wall. Let's get into it. Hide the baby, hide the kids. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna tear this bad boy down. And to be honest, it's not gonna be that long of a video unless we start talking about the politics around it. And I'll touch on it a little bit because this might askew other people's view. So I want people to have a clear lens when you watch it. Forget the trailers and all the nonsense on it. Watch the movie. You know what I mean? Watch the film. Some things people are saying are absolutely right about it. Like in terms of let's say the changes. You might not too care for the changes that they have in this film. So let's just start off full on blast with the film in and of itself. We'll review the film, get into the picks, and then the nitpicks, and then we'll talk a little bit about the other shit. So this film is basically about Carol Danvers on the planet. I think it's Oa, if I'm not mistaken, and she's already part of this elite team for the Kree, and she's a warrior. They're hunting down the shapeshifters. You know, and basically what they're doing is they're hunting them down for this, I guess, this war that they've been having, going back and forth, whatever. They have something called the Supreme Intelligence, where they get their missions that they talk to, and they're more personal to them. And basically, the Supreme Intelligence comes to her in the form of a woman. She doesn't know who this woman is to her because she has no memory. She doesn't realize she's actually from Earth. She basically was found by them, a humanoid species. She don't look that dissimilar from, and they saved her life, gave her Kree blood, and now she's part of the team. There's something special about her. The special thing is that basically that she kind of gets her powers from the Tesseract, but they never really explain it. Some people I remember hearing people say one of the stones got it, but it's not the stone directly, because the stone was in Marvel's laboratory, which we'll get into. Marvel was in Marvel's laboratory. So whatever was powering the engine that she destroyed, it infused in her. So it was something that the thing that was powering the engine gave her power, not the stone. The stone powered the engine gave her power, but that doesn't mean that she has infinite power directly from the stone. There's something in between, so she's not that kind of powerful, at least I don't think. But it also explains why she can handle Thanos the way she can, because her power is a derivative from something that got its power directly from the stone. So it's like, you have a buffer. So, but she's a byproduct of the stone's energy in some sort of base thing, because for that they would have had the stone down, and the stone would have been in the engine powering it. It was off planet powering it. So I was like, which I didn't understand why it needed to be off planet, but it's a stone, so it could do a lot of things. I'll let you have that. So in any event, she doesn't really, that's where she gets her powers from, and I'm cool with it. In terms of the stone stuff, that's cool. You want to bring it part of the Infinity thing. It ties up a lot of stuff. Um, the Avengers was her nickname. I didn't really too care for her being too tied into Nick Fury like that, because it kind of shrinks things down. It's almost like you're trying to retrofit her. They retrofit her in pretty nicely without overly compromising everything. I just didn't think it was needed to say, all right, that used to be Carol Danvers' nickname. All right, it didn't seem too forced. It just seemed more For some unnecessary, for some, okay. I didn't think it was necessary. You needed to have it be them be named from her. That was her nickname. Because it seemed like you're doing too much to tie them to her, which it wasn't really to fit her into what was already there, which you already did with Nick Fury. You know what I mean? Her knowing Nick Fury. So it kind of didn't matter. It almost, and Nick Fury being the way he was in the film, kind of like I said, it just, I'll put that. We'll deal with that in the picks. But in any event, basically, as the story goes on, she finds out that her team is basically the bad guys, and what they're doing is they're hunting down basically refugees all across the galaxy, and basically, if not eliminating them, they're directly looking for something that, well, what they said they were looking for was the engine, and I don't think they. I think the hint was that they were looking whatever they wanted the Tesseract. Clearly, the team wanted the Tesseract, but it wasn't just the Tesseract. I think they also just wanted to wipe them off the face of the galaxy, out the face of the galaxy. These aliens, the shapeshifters, which I thought were called Kree in the comics too. It's been a while. They more like Fantastic Four, with the Secret Wars and all of that. But we'll touch on that a little bit in the nitpicks. But in any event, when she finds out that her team were the bad guys, it basically, to stop the war, was to find the Tesseract so they could use that to, I guess, basically he wasn't even looking for the Tesseract. He was just looking for his people, which was the twist. You thought that they were looking for the Tesseract. No, he was looking for Marvel's laboratory, because that's where his family was. He wasn't looking for the Tesseract, but whatchamacallit was looking for the Tesseract, her team. So with that being said, it was cool. That was the only thing kind of creative about it, if you will, with the storytelling, especially because they could also use the memories to piece it together, but they didn't do it with the dramatic effect and with that artistic flair that we got with well, they had certain artistic moments, because at the end when you've seen her getting up all throughout her stages of her lives, I thought that was actually dope, because that was pertinent to who she was. Now the whole cockpit joke was like, that was kind of extra. Like, dudes, to me that's cartoony. To me, I don't know guys being this extra. Even when I was a kid, no girls allowed. Like, guys weren't extra like that. We just played with the boys, played with boys, girls played with girls. Some girls might play around with us, but it wasn't that deep, because like they didn't too care for what we was doing too much. Vice versa, unless there was a dude that like playing double dutch with them, and he was over there with them, and that went as far as it was gonna go with them, because I don't know, when we was younger, it just wasn't that extra. So like, but even back in the day when we used to see that, to me that was always kind of TV, not so much something that I could say I seen a lot, growing up. So I didn't really trip too much about that, so per se, but I do believe that the like, as you go through the story and you see her relationship with Monica Rambeau being her actual family, which I thought was kind of interesting. She didn't have a good relationship with her parents, and particularly her father. So when she come home to family, it's Monica Rambeau and her daughter, which I thought was kind of interesting. I really would have liked to see more of their relationship in terms of growing up, to build it up more. So when you finally seen them together, you would have really got so much of that. But the way they did the film, like I said, it was very safe. It was very safe to me. Very safe film. They did really dig into her relationships with that type of intensity. Not to say that they needed to, but I like to see the dramatic, so you can like the character a little bit more. So when everything plays out, it feels like you're kind of into her character. I'm not gonna say you're gonna hate Carol Danvers, not at all, I'm not gonna say you'll particularly love her like you'll love a lot of other characters in the MCU, because they didn't do enough to now really make you get to know who she was once before in such a way through the monologuing and through the storytelling. I mean, don't get me wrong, you do get a sense of, but I think that it was maybe they didn't do enough with her character so you could see the chemistry there develop more. Because I don't want to say she had no chemistry with anyone else. It was there. There were just certain moments I think that she could have. And the girl smiled. I mean, all this shit about her not smiling, she smiled. She's a cute chick. She does look like an ex-wife sometimes. I do give her that. That's more what she's like in interviews. And we'll touch on that later on because she doesn't have that extreme, that's my ex-wife kind of demeanor, very prudish, but and annoying in a way and very rigid and stiff. But you can see that in her interviews. So when you see her do that when she's playing a character, then I can see why she could look wooden. But it's just her. She's a wooden woman. like like she's kind of awkward in that sense. I know people that's kind of like you can see they're a little socially awkward, a little bit, or awkward around certain environments, so they can feel a lot of, what I mean. It just is what it is, and they kind of not. They don't always. They seem uptight and a little less in the groove of things. So I can see why that kind of quote unquote tick, if you will. But that's kind of like I think who she is on a personal level. Not to say that I know her personally, but I think that's just more who she is. So when she acts the character, you'll find some of her little body chemistry that's more Brie Larson. You'll see Brie Larson a little bit acting out the role of Carol Danvers that's on the page and giving it life, and that's just the vessel. And like I said, it's not a bad thing. Like I said, I mean, not at all. At least not to me. You know what I mean? It's just that, but I do see what people are saying. It's kind of hard to not see it. But all things considering, it is a good film. Very safe. Nothing particularly up there. Nothing particularly. It's just a good, solid film. You enjoy it. It's not bad at all. Like not at all. It's a good movie. Is it exceptional? No. Is it amazing? No. I didn't come out of the theater losing my mind. I came out of the theater like, all right, I enjoyed myself. A good time at the movies. I had a good time at the movies. That's it. It wasn't exceptional. It didn't leave me thinking. It didn't leave me nothing. It didn't leave me mad. I enjoyed myself. The only thing I will say is I did not like the sex change on Marvel. I'm old school. I like the changes with Marvel. I like characters to look and be who they are. That's my go-to default point. Unless you change it and let me see otherwise. Now, for the character they wrote, I guess it worked because I wasn't mad at the woman that played Captain Marvel. There was and these more my nitpicks. The inconsistencies in the powers threw me off. You know what I mean? Like, because if you could die that simple, and so it felt like that. Why can't Carol die that way? And I guess because her powers come directly from the stone mixed with her Kree blood. But it was like, so you guys could die that easy, but she has the blood in her. But then she has something more because she has that, so maybe that's why she can't die. I don't know. Like what is? I forgot what the Tesseract was stone. That was a Mind Stone, if I'm not mistaken. The Tesseract was the Mind Stone, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't a Power Stone. So I don't know why she does what she does and no one else can. Where does that come from? Or is that they never really explained it. It was just like, oh, she's uber powerful and she could do photon blasts. But if you're gonna go out your way to explain all of this and do all this changing of the stories, then at least explain why it's like that. That like I said, I mean, I wasn't mad at it. It was just like the changes. But I think we already talked enough about the film and that I liked it and I enjoyed it. Like I told you before, a good C plus, a solid C plus, maybe B minus, but a solid C plus in terms of Now that's it for that. That's it for that. Now let's get into the picks.
So, Skrulls are the bad guys. And you're a Kree, a race of noble warriors.
Heroes. Noble warrior heroes.
The things that we could definitely pick apart of this film is going to definitely be, I want to start off with, again, Sam Jackson. I did not, had he been another character, it would have worked for me. For him to be Nick Fury, that seemed so much. I expected him to be like, like he said, he's seen war. I mean, he was in the Cold War, a little bit different, more spy stuff. But I expected him to have that demeanor. It was just weird that the cat, every time he was around the cat, he was just this complete joke of a man. Like, it was like, yo, dude, you've seen a lot. I would have liked it if you would have told her he liked the cat on the low, like, and it was a little bit more low key, not so extra all the time. He interacted with the cat. And they said Goose stole the show. Not really. I mean, the cat eating the Tesla. It got cartoony. That was a shit out. Oh man. Let's stay on point. Goose is another pick. Let's stay on point with my man Nick Fury. How he lost his eye. That shit really worked my nerves. The cat scratched him. The fuck out of here. That shit was so lame juice. You didn't need to overly try to tie her into the lives of everyone. It was like you was forcing his interaction with her to have something to do with him all throughout. Like, her nickname was Avenger, and it was like you didn't even see that all the way to the end, and there was nothing about her that made you wonder why would you call her the Avenger anyway. It'd have been different if, like, one thing I loved, and that'll be one of my major picks, was how they married in the verse. It was part of her last name because it was broken off of her dog tags. Her last name, Carol Danvers, but they kept calling her Verse. Like, and you realize where they got it from because it was broken off, and that's what he called it because he was like, I don't know her name. It's broken off this Verse. That's her name, Verse. I like that. That made sense. Where did Avenger come from? You'd have had a better time calling her Jer, and then at the end you realize that was her nickname on her dog tags, but they would never put it on her dog tag. They should have put that somewhere else, and then you'd have realized Avenger. That's what they used to call her. Why? And they make sense to her character as you're telling her character. I don't know who she avenged, but maybe she avenged something, and everyone called her Avenger, and you didn't have to put it on the nose, have them say it, but when you realize that was her nickname, then people should have been like, oh, it just seemed like you didn't need to do that. Like, you didn't need to do that. She interacted with the Tesseract. It was around back then. You had it. I didn't even understand why you had Goose eat it. It was kind of it was too fucking cartoony for me, man, with that part. Like, I didn't hate it. It was just like, it was a little cartoony. So when you have him, every time he's around Goose, it was just like, this guy that's seen wars and fought, and don't get me wrong, that is a good quote-unquote comedic and cute balance with him, but I wouldn't have overly sold it every time he was around the cat. It was just like, too much. It was ways you could have did that to make it real funny, and it was the ways you could have did it to make it kind of like to show a different side of him. That being said, let's get into the next picks.
Space invasion, big car chase. Truth be told, I was ready to hang it up till I met you today. So you're not from around here?
It's hard to explain. I keep having these memories. I see flashes. I think I had a life here. But I can't tell if it's real.
To the next picks. Goose. Goose was cute, but the flirting stuff with the mouth open, I don't know if that's in the cartoon, in the comics, so I can't do too much with it. It just looked more comically ridiculous. It was getting into the fantasy realm, and I guess because we already got like, even though they kind of put him more in the background, Howard the Duck. We do have Rocket Raccoon, but the mouth open with the tentacles flying mad long. Like, how could that fit in? Forget about it. I wasn't mad at it. It was a cute comic relief, but at the same time, the cat wasn't really necessary. It wasn't pertinent to the story. I didn't understand why I needed to eat the it was just like, the cat could do anything. Like, it came out and ate something like that.
We have no idea what threats are out there.
So that's the case with the cracks. It's gonna crap out this month of
We need him.
and then the Tesseract is gonna come. I mean, like I said, it was just like, oh man, you didn't need to do it.
I'm not what you think I am.
Like I said, at that point, that's when it got me. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the main bad guy. Oh man, I forgot the character's name. He was. I know the actor too. Oh man, this is gonna piss me off because he's actually a real good actor. And now I gotta go pull it up now. But the bad guy, the choices that they made with it, I never would have did that. Well, I won't say never. Let me do it this way. Let me put it this way. The villain did what he was supposed to do. It just, I don't know. It just didn't. He didn't seem as. I don't want to. He didn't seem that much of a threat, especially even for her. She was hella OP, but it didn't really bother me so much because she was dealing with ships and stuff like that. But it was kind of pointless when she got to the end and she just shot the dude down and that was it. Like, it was like, okay, so if that's what she could do, then it's like then no one could really mess with her, and then it's like you kind of take all the tension out of it. So that will be an issue down the line for her. In terms of the acting, he did you got an excellent actor, and he's going to play this role. And like I said, I mean, Jude Law. Dang, I'm mad I forgot his name. Jude Law. Jan Rog. That's his name. Gemma Chan was a cutie. I was trying to remember her name. She's a cutie. Lashonda Lynch. Yeah. Maria Rambeau. Yeah, she's a cutie. I'm on here online looking at it. Now, Jude Law, he did what he could with the role. He was intimidating for what it was, but like I said, he didn't feel like when she got her powers, he didn't seem like much of a threat. He did not seem like much of a threat. And maybe also because I already knew that he was going to end up being a bad guy, but we always assumed that he was Marvel. When we found out that Annette Bening was Marvel, then it was a done deal. Now, they changed up how these characters moved and got around. I think Marvel died of cancer in the comics. Like I said, I mean, there was no need to do this with Marvel. There was no need to change the sex. And the way he died, it was just so unclimactic. He was just like, so do you have powers? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I just wanted a little bit more consistency with the powers of the Kree. because like the suit, if she's this all powerful, that at some point, that's why they had to have the story about how that thing on her neck was supposed to hinder her. That was the only way you was going to create the tension, because once she could unleash her full power, then any terrestrial bout is going to be kind of pointless. Like, she just get to crashing through ships and bringing them shits down. So, like I said, I could see where the issue with her being OP could be a problem, but it didn't throw me off as much until she had to deal with Jude Law, because it seemed like they were absolutely no match for her. He was like, yo, fight me without your power. She shot him back someplace, and that was it. The big fight was really in her head with Marvel, and yeah, and don't get me wrong, it was dope, but it wasn't. It wasn't. You could only have it in her head, because once you realize she's more powerful than the supreme knowledge, then that's it. Party done. Like, I want to know what you could do with a part two, if this is where we're going with it, because you wrote characters to be absolutely no match to her. And with respect, to go back to Samuel Jackson, I could get why you had to make him not so the way he had to be, because she was a straight man. So you had to have the comic really be none other than Samuel Jackson. But I just think they goofed him down just a little bit too much, because he has the charisma a lot more than Carol Danvers, especially needed for that character. But needless to say, there was a lot of scenes with her that I wasn't really too tripped up about her. She was cute to me. Like, she was just slightly plucky, but not in an annoying way, if you will. Not an annoying way. She, you know what I'm saying? So all the extra stuff that people are putting onto her performance is really, if you ask me, unfounded. You know, it was more the paradigm that influenced that. Now, Ben Middleton was another pick as Talos. Talos, I I didn't like the fact that they changed the character. I don't really remember if he was that demented in the comics, but I know his species was never depicted this kind of way in terms of like the species. They were the secret invasion. They take over planets. That's what they do. So unless one of the infractions are going to be uber villains down the line, and his fraction was just looking for a home, the character that they wrote was he was pretty likable. So what you got to understand why he was doing what he was doing. And on the merits of the film, I liked it. My nitpicks with that would be, I really wish they didn't do that with his character. Other than that, those are my major picks. And the story, it was safe, it was contained. You know, you're gonna love Samuel L. Jackson's performance because he's just good. But as Nick Fury, I still didn't want him to be so watered down and comical and all around this cat. Like, I wanted him to be still an imposing guy. The fact that he lost his eye because the cat scratched him pissed me the F off. So I'm gonna make this a segue into my nitpicks. That shit pissed me off, bro. Give me a minute. Why did you need to have the cat scratch his fucking eye out? Like, when he said in the film that I trusted someone once. And that's why my eye is that way. That was so compelling. The fact that at the end they try to retcon it in such a way where it can make sense. He said that's on a need to know basis. So he never told people how he lost the eye. The cat scratched his eye. And it was like, oh, yeah, alien flirking, but that was so weak sauce and unnecessary. Again, the Avenger tag, if you could have explained why they would even have called her that, it would make sense. But to name the team after her, it didn't feel like they had that kind of a bond. I mean, it was cool near the end. They were bonding, but it didn't seem like the bond was so intense that you would feel like you want to name this infraction behind her, other than the fact that she's the first person that introduced you to Alien, which should be a big enough bond. I get you. I get. So I might be playing myself just a tad, but there was no reasoning for why they even referred to her as an Avenger. I didn't like that because the first Avenger was Captain America. The first time they called um her a, I don't know, like first time he encountered her made him want to start the Avengers Initiative, I guess. Or you could say technically Steve Rogers was the first one on the team, the first super soldier. But
Your life began the day it nearly ended. We found you with no memory. We made you one of us. So you could live longer, stronger, superior. You were reborn.
I keep having these memories. Something in my past is the key to all of this.
You know how to fly this thing?
We'll see.
That's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Would you like to know what you really are?
I think I had a life here. What aren't you telling me?
You've come a long way, but you're not as strong as you think. This war is just the beginning.
I'm not gonna fight your war. I'm gonna end it.
Aren't you the cutest little thing? Aren't you cute? And what's your name, huh?
Fury.
What's cute? I'll be back.